Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing an ink from Private Reserve. Brand I've not looked at a whole lot on this channel, so today we are looking at this one. This is American Blue, and this is the fast dry version of that ink. The Australian rep for Private Reserve knows I'm left-handed, and we'll talk about some other inks, and they said you should give this one a try. So thank you so much to them for sending this out for review. I'm going to put it under a couple of tests, including testing that fast dry claim, and we'll see how we go. Firstly, here it is, of course, on a colouring card. You see lots of nice sheen. It's a lovely sort of rich saturated royal blue, and yeah, it's got some nice little properties about it. So here we have it on 68 GSM Tolmore River, the good old stuff we know and love. I had it in 2 pens. I only managed to remember to write one down, TWSBI Go Broad, and it was also in the TWSBI Go Extra Fine, which is the finer writing there. You can see once again, that swatch, it looks beautiful. Nice little hits of that sort of red coppery sheen. It's beautiful. It's like it's a really lovely blue. So, 5 points. The claim is that it is fast drying. Here is the box, and it says it right there, fast dry. It says it on the bottle as well. Of course, I've tested that claim, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So, the ink of Private Reserve inks are labelled as pH neutral, making them nice and safe. This is a good everyday ink. It's a good colour. It's got some pretty decent performance, and sort of like it's one of those sort of stock standards that every person should have something like this in their collection. The next point is that it is made in Europe and packaged in the USA, and that actually leads into the 5th point, that it's under new ownership. And it's now part of like what is the the same family as the Monteverde family. So the company was sort of like running down, and then it's been revived, like a number of brands have, by this parent company. So let's talk about the performance now. I've said it's got a fair performance on low-end papers. We're going to look at it on a couple of different kinds of paper. I think it performs pretty well, particularly for an ink that is pretty saturated. An issue that I have with this ink is that it smears when it's dry. Now I've done like you can see here, like it, that doesn't take a lot to rub it to get it to like spread like that. I have said it's got excellent saturation, and that kind of ties into that. There's lots of dye in this. If it sits on top of the paper like it does on a Tolmore River kind of paper, you are going to get some smearing perhaps. I've also said it's got nice flow. The next point is that it's fast drying, and I've put next to that. So here on the Tolmore River, 2 seconds, 20 seconds. That's pretty much on par with most other ink. But what I have done is this page, which I've taken 4 blue inks: Waterman Serenity Blue, Private Reserve American Blue, Parker Quink Blue, Diamine Majestic Blue. So Parker Quink is also a fast drying ink. And what I have done is, with this exact same pen, all within 10 minutes of each other, so same dip pen, same 10 minutes of each other, all to a timer, a 5-second smear, a 10, a 20, a 30, a 45, and a 60-minute smear. Now, based on this study, on this little test here that I've done, and your results will vary. What you write it on it with, like depending on the fineness of the pen or how wet it is, what paper you write on, even things down to, the temperature in the room, which is why I did this all within like a 10-minute period, if that. My results showed this still wet at 60 seconds, whereas Waterman Serenity Blue was dry just after 45. Same for Parker Quink Blue, and Majestic Blue was dry before 30 seconds. This is on Rhodia 80 GSM paper. So their claim of fast drying may mean fast drying in comparison to their other inks, in which case I can't imagine the dry time, but I do not call this necessarily fast drying. Just my thoughts. Also what I did was I did this little smear, and I'll overlay a video of this here in a bit of a time lapse. So after 30 seconds, it was still pretty stonkingly wet. My last point here is that the bottle is just okay. So they have, I'll take it out of the box here, this kind of bottle. It's a low bottle, it's wide, it's got a great opening. so that you can really, there's not a single pen in the world that will not fit in this. But if you're filling directly from the bottle, you don't have a lot of depth of bottle. And so it, once the ink starts to run down, you're going to have to like tilt it or use syringes and things like that to fill. That's okay. But also, like, it's also just really messy. Like, you can see a bit of ink on the label there. I'm wearing it all over my hands, like it's in my fingernails and things like that. Like, and so, like, if you get any ink around the threads of the cap, the ink just comes out the side. It just like drips everywhere. So something just to be aware of. The last thing I said is it's stubborn to clean, and that's I don't want to say it's super stubborn because it doesn't stain or anything like that. Just like, because it is saturated when you're washing it out, particularly if you're using something like a vac filler or something along those lines, just make sure you give it a really, really solid clean. Last points, it's now the extras. It's got a nice red copper sheen, some shading, particularly actually in the less wet pens. There's no shimmer in this ink, and mid to low water resistance. So you can see that here. So I've moved it around with the water brush pen. It moves around a lot because it is a saturated ink. And then where I put the water down and then dabbed it up, so much has been taken up. Like, you can still make it out, but you're gonna make a mess of your notes. Let's now check out the performance if I flip this page over. As you would expect with Tom or River paper, not a lot is ever gonna come through this. So no ink comes through. You can see it through, of course, but there is absolutely no bleeding. And in terms of the actual line on the page, you see nice shading and all those kinds of things, but there's no feathering at all. Big good property of this paper. Not a lot of inks will actually perform badly on this. If we now move to the low end paper here, we have student notepad paper from Spyrex. Really lightweight. It actually doesn't bleed too much at all. The feathering, I mean, like there's a little bit of spread perhaps, but it's holding fairly well. And some of the things I like about this ink. And if we look at the reverse, yes, there is bleed here, but this is not fountain pen friendly paper, and even some like ballpoints and, well, not ballpoints, but roller balls definitely bleed through on this paper. Next, here it is on the standard office copy paper, your 80 GSM copy paper. It's okay. Like, once again, it holds together fairly well. There's a little bit of feathering occasionally from, but this is not fountain pen friendly paper either. And if we look at the reverse, much the same, like as you would expect. So Diamine, Conklin inks, and Private Reserve, they're all kind of doing the same sort of thing. Feathering, or a bit of bleeding, sorry, particularly in the wetter pens and where you put down a bit more ink. And lastly, here it is on Rhodia 80 GSM again. Really solid tight lines, nice depth of color and shading. Put the crosshatch down, put water on there, and just let it dry. You can see it moves around completely. I've lost all the detail. So if you're writing in this with a notebook, and like, yes, your notebook might get a bit of rain on it, it might smear a bit, but if, you accidentally drop that in, a puddle and it gets soaked through, you are going to lose a lot of your writing with an ink like this. This is definitely not a permanent or water-resistant ink. Checking out the chromatography for this ink now, you can see there's a little bit left behind at the bottom, but all that beautiful blue moves all the way through, and there's a lovely line of pink at the top. It's simple, it's clean, there's not a lot to it, it's just a good solid blue. For the colour comparison today, I'm going to pull up two of those colours we tested alongside in terms of water. We've got Waterman's Serenity Blue, Dry Time. I've got Waterman's Serenity Blue there. They're not dissimilar. Red coppery sheen, nice little royal blue, a bit more depth perhaps or warmth in the Waterman's Serenity Blue, and then Parker Quink Blue. A lot lighter, once again, red copper sheen, but much, much lighter, less saturated than the Private Reserve. So how much does this ink cost? Well, I've priced the US price and the Australian price. I found it in Australia for $19.95, which I think is pretty good value for 60 mils. And in the US, the price I saw around the place was about 18. So the conversion there is actually pretty decent to Australia. It's actually cheaper to buy in Australia than it is in the US. And I think at 60 mils for either of those prices, under $20, it's pretty good. So score, I've given this 3 out of 5. Which is just lower than my average ink review mark score. I said it's a super color. This blue is beautiful. Like, it's great, it's vibrant, it's got a lot of punch. It's okay value at that price. And the general performance is good. Like, it doesn't bleed as much. It doesn't like completely just soak through any paper. It doesn't feather heaps. It's okay. but it doesn't do what it says. Like it says on the bottle, it says there, fast dry. And they have an American blue that isn't a fast dry, just a standard American blue. So this is the fast dry version. And yet, as we saw, even just here, after 30 seconds, that is still soaking wet. 20 seconds, that's still super wet. And if we look at that test page again, it's outperformed by 3 other blue inks. Yes, Waterman and Parker are everyday sort of stock standard inks that are designed to be, particularly Parker, faster drying. But Dymo Majestic Blue is just a regular blue ink. And yet, as I said, these tests are all done in the exact same way. So, interesting. So this was Private Reserve American Blue. An ink I really like. I love the color, and an ink I will enjoy using regardless of the fact that like it doesn't dry as fast as I think they would like it to. But yeah, it looks great. It's got some nice properties and a good amount of ink for the price. So thank you for watching, and once again, thank you to the Australian representative for Private Reserve for sending this out for review. Please get in touch, use the platforms listed below if you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you would like to support the channel, I would love to hear from you. Like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It all helps my channel and helps me provide these reviews for you. In the meantime, enjoy your inks, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.